Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well. So now we're going to deal with our head component in Next.js. Now this component is responsible for our titles, meta tags, and much more. Title is basically the title in the browser right there, and meta tags in terms of keywords, descriptions, Facebook related meta tags like the OG title, OG description, and Twitter related for the card, etc. Now, how do we add that in Next.js? So if we go to our app right now, if I press F12 and we go to the head section, you will see the only meta tags that's relevant for us right now is the viewport and the UTF-8. And as you can see, the title is empty. And all the other ones are Next.js related. So how do we add that in Next.js? So if we go to our app layout, so let's quickly go in here under pages.app.js, this one right here. Just make sure everything is in the one parent element. In this case, it's a React fragment right there. So in order to bring in our head component, we just import it quickly. So import head. So from next add, just like that. In order to make use of it, we just bring in our head component just like that. So just type in head. Now we can do anything we want. So in here, we can add the title, meta description. In this case, let's add the title first. We want to set a default title for every page. And this one is just, we're just going to say course. So if I save that, you will see every single page have their title now. And let's add a default meta description. So if we add that, all right, so now we got a default of meta name for the description. You can obviously add more, but I just want to keep it as simple as possible for now. So the name for the description and the content is default. So if we go to our app right now, let's go to the home page. And in here, we can see that we have our default description. So let's give us some room. Right, so as you can see, we got our description, content is default, and we have our title right there. So that's basically now for our app, we created a default title and we created a default description for the meta. So you can obviously add more if you want to. Now, the thing is, now let's say you want to create a title that's unique to our homepage. So we can do that. So let's quickly go to our homepage right here. So all we have to do is we have to obviously bring in our head component. So head. Okay. Right. Once we bring in our component, we can use it. So let's quickly create that. So for the title that we want to do is we want to create the course and we just want to say home. So if I save that, as you can see, it updates it. So if I press F12 and if I go to our head section right there, you can see it overrides the default ones that we have. So remember the default that we have is just course. So if I change it right here, it overrides it. Okay, so just to kind of give you another example. So let's say we want to change the default description. So let's just copy this part right here and let's change the default description to home. So let's do that. So if I save that, as you can see, it updates it and changes it. So whatever you basically any head sections that you add inside your components itself, that's not in the default one for my app, it will override them. But by default, you can set a default description, title, meta tag so that every page have the same ones. So as you can see, if I go to the different ones, it still have the same default ones that we set. All right. So what we can do now is we can actually copy this part and add them for the different pages. In this case, I just want to do it for our about page. Because all I want to do in here is I just want to change the title. So I'm just going to remove the description. And I just want to set the title in here. So title about. And obviously we have to make sure we import this part. So let's go and import our head. So import our head component. So head from next /head. All right. So let me just save that. And as you can see, if we go to the about, you can see it updates accordingly. All right, so that's basically how you can add this. And obviously, you guys know that meta tags is very good for SEO purposes, so that you can add them in there. Now, another thing that you have is now, let's say you can have an articles. In this case, we want to add some dynamic meta tags. So in this case, let's go and add our head section. and we want to add the title. But now let's say we receive the title as a prop in our dynamic page, so we can just do that, and let's put in our title right there. So we receive it as a prop, and all we have to do now is we can just add it in here like this. And obviously we need to make sure we import this. So let me just import the head component. And I just want to add something at the back so we know that this is coming from this page. I will just say dynamic. Just like that, title dynamic. Right, so if we go to the page of articles, but remember we haven't passed any prop yet, we haven't got to that part by just making this as an example. So if we go to / maybe 2, press enter, as you can see, it updates accordingly. So the dynamic, so if we pass in a prop for the title, you will see the title will be in there as well. All right, so that's an end of this episode with regards to our head component in Next.js, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.